Well, first and foremost, I just think that, just martial arts aside, I think that it is imperative for people to have some sort of movement protocol in their lives, whether it's running, walking, yoga, all those, playing tennis, everything. I just think it is so necessary, because people who don't have that sort of thing in place, I don't understand how you can manage day-to-day stress.
Welcome to a new episode of the Dev Device podcast. Today I have the pleasure to welcome Mr. Guy Woodard. Welcome, Guy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Dano.
Yeah, I heard a lot of fascinating things about you, and I invited you to join my podcast. Last but not least is the martial arts passion that we share together. But before we get there, let us know what are you doing today? What is your work like?
Well, listen, I'll be honest with you. Everything is going to revert back to martial arts more than likely. So, I started my day today with a 7 o'clock session in the gym, Jiu Jitsu. That's how I start off my days on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I usually go to a 12 noon session. But it just kind of gets me in the right mindset, in terms of how to approach my day. I just feel like once you start your day with someone trying to literally choke the life out of you, the rest of the day is pretty easy. You know what I mean? So that's my go-to. But I will say this, that when I wake up in the morning, I have one of the things I really, really enjoy. And in fact, I talked about this in my last webinar, is I have a set sort of protocol of things that I do in the morning. So I get up, I have breathing exercises that I do in the morning. I wake up at around 5. I'm up at 5 a.m. I do the breathing exercises. I usually clean up around for my missus. So it's a very meditative sort of breathing exercise. And then I'll have a quick breakfast, and then I shoot out to the gym.
Wow. So that's how your everyday starts. Yeah. We have to definitely dig into this martial arts routine of yours and how it has impacted your life until today. I'm sure there's been a large impact. But just quickly, what you're doing for work these days?
Oh, I'm sorry. So I do finance. I'm an international financial planner. So I basically help professional expats create financial plans for themselves, whether it's retirement planning, whether it's some sort of lump sum investments. A lot of times what will happen is people will sell, maybe for instance, property back in their home country, and then they have a lump sum of money, or they might receive an inheritance. And I help them basically put it in a structure that's designed to help it grow and, hopefully provide some sort of income for them later on in the future. It's boring work. When you say it, it's not the most exciting thing, but it's one of those things I really enjoy, because I get an opportunity to speak with very interesting people all the time. And everyone's story is a little bit different. There's going to be a lot of similarities, especially with regards to the actual solutions, but their stories themselves are often very different.
Yeah, I can imagine. And what you're doing, what you're helping them to accomplish is definitely very meaningful, because to have some return on our capital and what we have worked on for our entire life, I think that is a very, very important thing to take care of. And to have a professional person on our side like you, I think it means a lot, because I have been in a lot of scam schemes, and I've heard so many horror stories of people in their 80s losing their entire savings. So I think it's incredibly important to have the right person on your side when it comes to managing money, right?
Yeah. So many times the thing that really kind of sort of touches me the most is when I get a person and they're just saying, well, listen, I only have this amount of money. And I always tell them the same thing. Listen, because I come across different people and across a scale in terms of their finances. But I always try to emphasize that whatever you have there, that's important to you. It doesn't matter what the amount is. That amount is important to you. So it is important for you to be able to have some sort of vehicle that could potentially allow that money to grow, to benefit you. So it doesn't matter how much money, I think one of the stigmas, when I tell people about what I do, is they think that they have to have these enormous sums of money, but you don't. There's nothing wrong with starting small. Everyone, most people do tend to start small and then work their way up. And that's one of the connotations that I sort of fight all the time. Just people who think that they don't have enough money.
Mm-hmm. And if you say small, so what would it mean in terms of what would be a small amount?
I mean, listen, you could start with pretty much any amount. I mean, if it's a couple of hundred or a couple $100 USD per month.
Seriously?
Oh. Yeah, absolutely. And, it's one of those things that you don't want to be, I mean, to be fair, you don't want to wait until you're in your 50s to be contributing $200 per month. But if you're just starting out in your young career, and it's, one of the things that's kind of difficult, to a barrier that I have to sort of overcome, especially with young people, is they're not thinking about retirement. I'm 55 now. I know what it's like to be in your late 20s and early 30s. You're not thinking about retirement and putting money aside for your future self. But if you do start a plan in your late 20s, for $200 a month, I mean, that's something that can really, you're giving yourself the time for it to compound and really grow.
Mm-mm. Of course, yeah. The compounding effect is pretty amazing if you look at the numbers. What can happen with a humble amount like $200 over 10 years? It's sometimes it can be quite impressive. Yeah, what the compound effect? Yeah, this is something people should know. And of course, whoever is listening to this, feel free to reach out to Mr. Guy. We will leave his contact details in the description. So now let's do what I always do with my guests. We do the little time travel where we go and meet 10-year-old Guy. So let us know what was happening when Guy was 10 years old. Where was he? What he was doing?
That's interesting because when I was 10 years old, my father had just made a career change. So he went from previously he was working for IBM. As a computer programmer, and then he decided that he was getting a little burnt out with programming, so he moved over to dentistry. So he had just completed his 4 years of schooling at University of Florida, and he joined the military. So at that point, my life sort of changed, because then all of a sudden I'm started to live in different places. So this was my first time living. We were living in Florida at the time. This is my first time really sort of living outside of Florida. We moved to Sumter, South Carolina. So yeah, my dad was in the military, and I was just kind of getting adjusted to this new sort of different life, away from, my cousins and my grandparents, who I was living with before, and this new life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah, we were moving a lot. I think when I was 10 years old, we moved 5 times. I was living. I had lived in 5 countries when I was 10 years old. So it is interesting, and it kind of shapes, your character. But of course, you're also losing all your childhood friends, and you're kind of coming to new places all the time. You have to make new friends all the time. So it can be exhausting also. And not everybody is welcoming somebody who comes to a new place. But your movement was happening in the US, right? Or did you leave the country as well?
Well, the first move was within the US, and like you said, it's just, especially at that time. I'm not sure how things work in the military now. My father was in the Air Force, but you were moving like almost every 3 years or so. So obviously, like you said, you don't have an opportunity to really form really strong relationships, because if it's not you moving, it's your friends moving. So you might meet a new person, but they've already been there for 2 years. So after a year, they're moving away. So, whatever the case may be. So yeah, you are sort of forced to be able to make new friends. Like you know, when I meet people and they talk about, you know, growing up together with their childhood friends from elementary school, and I'm just looking at them like, wow, that's just so, I just can't even comprehend it, you know. But when I was, my father ended up doing a remote tour to South Korea. And what a remote tour means, that you go without your family. So we stayed on in South Carolina. He moved to South Korea for 1 year. You do it for 1 year. After that 1 year time, what that affords you is you can then, because it is a remote tour, because you are away from your family, what the military will do back in those days is that they would allow you to choose essentially wherever you want to go afterwards. So two things that was very significant about that. I got a chance to go visit my father in Korea for Christmas when I was 14 years old, or maybe I was 13 going on 14. And man, that's what changed my life. Seeing a new country for the very first time. And it was that realization that, OMG, there's a whole other world that is out there that I've never experienced before. So I took it in. I mean, I really soaked it up. And I do have like a little bit of a story. So back, you know, just kind of backtrack. At 10, that's when I started my martial arts journey. So I was doing an art called Tang Soo Do, which is very similar to Taekwondo. It's very, very similar.
How did it come up? I mean, how did you even start with martial arts? I mean, was it something you saw on TV, or a friend invited you, or how?
To be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure. If I remember correctly, I believe it was my father. My father wanted to put my sister and I, my sister's 3 years younger than me, he wanted us to be able to defend ourselves in precarious situations. So that was what started it. And then I just became addicted to it. I used to collect all the kung fu and karate magazines, and man, I was just all into it. I was eating, drinking, and sleeping it. So yeah. So when I was in Korea, that was a wonderful, because it's a Korean martial art. Going to Korea allowed me to kind of sort of experience the culture. I went walking around. My father told me, stay on this one road because you can't read Korean. And if you get lost, you're not going to know how to get back. So I take it into walking. I see these two kids doing martial arts. So of course, I want to know. So I go and I start interacting with these kids. And then they're like, hey, come to our house. Yada, yada, yada. Next thing I know, I'm going all over Seoul, Korea, you know, with these kids. And then at the end of the day, it was just like, okay, well, it's time for me to go home. And they're like, okay, where are you staying? I'm just like, you don't know where that is? And they're like, no. Anyway, long story short, I finally did make it back home, thankfully. But just that experience that came from my martial arts, you know, had I not been doing martial arts, I probably would have never even engaged these kids. And that engagement gave me an opportunity to see parts of Korea that even my father, who had been living there, hadn't even had a chance to see.
So which one was that? Which martial art was that in South Korea?
I was doing Tang Soo Do. I think they were doing Taekwondo.
Taekwondo.
Yeah. And again, they were just outside just doing it. And I was familiar with it. So I had to get involved. So
all right. So that's when you got addicted to martial
traveling.
Travel.
Yeah, I got addicted to martial arts from when I was 10, so way before I got there. But yeah, that's when I started really getting addicted to traveling. That's when I really just wanted to see the world. It was an epiphany for me that I wanted to see the world. And because my father had an opportunity to choose where he wanted to go to next, he had sort of narrowed it down to either Turkey or Spain. And we ended up going to Spain. So I went to high school in Spain. I graduated from high school in Spain and spent some of the best years of my life there. Amazing. Yeah.
Which part of Spain?
Madrid. I was just outside of Madrid, actually. I wasn't in Madrid proper. I was 20 minutes outside of Madrid, which is perfect. Small town. And yeah, it was just a completely different world. I mean, just completely different in terms of culture and the Spanish people, Spain, they know how to live life. They know how to get the best out of life, how to enjoy life. So I learned a lot there.
And you learn Spanish as well.
I learned Spanish as well.
Wow.
Yep.
So you speak English, you speak Spanish. What else do you speak?
Um, I can speak a little bit of Thai, even though I'm not very comfortable speaking it. I'm more comfortable understanding Thai than I am actually speaking it. And I've learned a little bit of the Ethiopian language, which is Amharic. Uh, I had an opportunity to actually visit Ethiopia. I have a lot of very, very close friends from Ethiopia. So yeah, that's part of it. Like I said, once I went to Korea, I just wanted to see the world. So yeah, I've traveled a lot since then.
Yeah. I think it's a very significant experience to have. I think as a young human to see that there is a different part of the planet, and there are probably many more different parts of the planet that we could discover, and it kind of shapes our mindset and like what we do, what we want to do in life, right? So if yeah, and I think it can be challenging, it can be painful, but as all I think very significant things have also a danger involved. But it opens our minds definitely, and I think it makes us choose very differently compared to like somebody who just spent his entire life in one village. And yeah, it has a big impact. And for yeah, so right now you are in Thailand, right? You're in Bangkok.
I
If
am in
I'm
Bangkok,
in
Thailand.
Bang,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. You're in Bangkok,
But, but to your
and
point, you're right. I mean, in order to experience any sort of growth in life, you have to embrace the unknown. I mean,
mm,
you have to put yourself, even this right here this is not something that I normally do.
mm.
And
Are you in pain? I hope not.
no, just my being here is me stepping out of my comfort zone, putting
Yeah.
myself in a comfortable situation, because
Mm,
you just never know what you're going to experience. I mean, even plants, they have to push through the soil. That's not a comfortable journey to push
mm,
through that soil to grow.
mhm.
So any sort of growth that you're going to experience in life, it requires being uncomfortable.
I 100% agree. And I think this would be one of the big takeaways of today's session.
Yep.
Yeah. To grow includes being uncomfortable and maybe facing the challenge of doing something that you don't know and which is not cool and not nice and something you don't know how to handle. And yeah, but that's yeah, I fully agree. Growth has this aspect attached to it, and if we stay in our comfort zone, we will not grow on the other
You'll never
side.
grow. You'll
Yeah.
never grow.
Yeah, which brings me back to the martial arts part, which also kind of includes painful growth in some aspect, right? So how did your martial arts journey go, and how would you say did it impact your life?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, martial arts has been a part of my life from the beginning. Like just to put it in perspective, growing up as a kid, when I was doing martial arts, I was 11, 12, 13. Even when we went to Spain, I was still doing I moved over to Taekwondo when I was living in Spain. But through the whole process, my mom was right there. She was doing it as well. So for me, in
Oh,
my mind, I thought it was normal for people's mothers, or fathers for that matter, to be doing martial arts
wow.
with you. And it wasn't until I was much older I realized that that was not,
Not at
normal.
all.
So yeah,
You're maybe one in a million.
yeah. But
Uh-huh.
but my mom she's 81. I mean, her energy levels are through the roof. I mean, she is so active. She came here to Thailand a couple of years ago, and I could barely keep up with her. I mean, it was
Wow.
shocking. It was shocking. I was like, "Oh my gosh, how do you do this?" But she has always been consistently doing this since as long as I can remember. Her father was the same way. I remember my grandfather when I was a kid, and again, I thought this was normal. My grandfather getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning before he would go to work and go for a run. I mean, a massive run. And I thought that was normal behavior. So when I talk to you about waking up early to go to the gym, whether it's weight training, which is something else that I do, or to do jujitsu or whatever. I used to do the same thing. I used to do Muay Thai in New York,
Oh,
7:30 in the morning. That's just embedded in me. It's just a part of. I just think that that's normal. That's what most people are supposed to do. So, yeah,
that's the power of habits.
habits. Yeah,
Yeah, which I think is very powerful to have the right habits. Make me think of one of my favorite books, which is called Atomic Habits. And to have this habit in your life where you wake up and you do these things, I think it can make a huge difference in our lives to do the right things in a way that is just feels natural to us. Yeah, where of course to build a habit takes time and takes effort. But as soon as you're in this thing, and if you have the right habit, I think it can be such a big thing. And as you can see with your mom, she obviously is following the right habits to be so energetic at her age. Yeah.
yeah. And listen, I mean, to your point about forming habits, I remember when I first, after Spain, went to university, I really didn't practice martial arts for several years after that. And in fact, what I ended up doing was I ended up going on a fitness journey with regards to weight training. And so I started my weight training journey when I was around 29, 30. And at the time, I thought to myself, there's no way that I'm not going to be able to put on the sort of muscle mass that I wanted to do. But I said, you know what? Let's see. Let's see what we can do. And here's what I did. And this is what I want to talk about, the whole thing about the habits. I told myself that, okay, for the next 2 months, I'm going to go to the gym on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. No excuses. And I said, I just want to see what happens in that 2 month time period. How does it feel? How does it work out? But I knew that going and starting and stopping was not going to get me there. And I said, I want to give it a legitimate chance to see how it feels. So that's what I said. I said Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, no excuses, 2 months. And that's what I did. And that's how I started my weight training journey. After 2 months, I was addicted.
You were addicted.
Addicted.
Wow.
Addicted. I mean, addicted because, I started to see I was the type of person previously that, I would be shy to take my shirt off at a pool or go to the beach. And I started to see a transformation in my body in just a short 2 month period. And yeah, that was all I needed to see. Once I started to see the results, and then other people started to comment, and that's when I knew. When other people started, hey, have you been going to the gym? I'm like, as a matter of fact, I have. Once that happened, it's off to the races. I couldn't stop.
All right. And how would you describe the impact of martial arts on your life? So if you had, let's say there's like a young person right now who is maybe considering to get involved. So how would you explain, like, what is the value? What is the journey? What is the deeper purpose of actually being involved in martial arts?
Well, first and foremost, I just think that, just martial arts aside, I think that it is imperative for people to have some sort of movement protocol in their lives, whether it's running, walking, yoga, all those, playing tennis, everything. I just think it is so necessary, because people who don't have that sort of thing in place, I don't understand how you can manage day-to-day stress, just the day-to-day pressures, because I just came back from a 2 week vacation. Well, not vacation. I was up country at my in-laws, and I was there for 2 weeks. And I'm just 2 weeks. I'm about to go crazy. I did start doing exercising before that because I couldn't stand it. I just don't know how people can survive through life without having that release of energy. So I just think that it's important but to specifically with regards to the martial arts, I will say to you, and if I had to be completely honest with you, the different martial arts that I have been in have impacted me differently. And so I've done, like I said, Tong Soo, Taekwondo. I've done Western boxing. I did Muay Thai, which is a beautiful striking art. And that's how I ended up coming to Thailand. But of them all, the one that has had the most impact on me, without a doubt, hands down, has been Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Just the impact, just the way that it has, because you are in Jiu Jitsu, you are forced to stay relaxed and calm in the most uncomfortable positions. And the key, I just had a session today, and in my two of my training partners commented at the fact that they just I could not submit you. I could not submit you. And my secret to my defense is always to remain calm. When I find myself in a terrible position, the very first thing that I do is to calm myself. That's the very first thing. I don't make any sort of movements. There's no, calm, relax. And then I start to process the mechanisms, the techniques that are necessary to get myself out of that position into a safer position. But just that alone, because that translates to every single aspect of my life, whether it's work, family, or just even passing, people in the streets. Being able to stay calm under pressure is a complete game changer.
Oh yeah, I fully agree, man. That is definitely a gift. I think even Bruce Lee said something like that about being calm is a superpower. And I fully agree. To be able to stay calm in difficult situation is definitely a superpower. And you seem have to master this superpower. So congratulations, man. But
Well, I'm getting there. Listen, it's a journey, and that's one of the things I love about Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. You never really master Jiu Jitsu, even when you get to black belt level. A lot of times, people say that when they got their black belt, that their Jiu Jitsu journey was only just beginning. Because the thing about Jiu Jitsu is it's very difficult, and that's the other thing I sort of love about it, and it's the other thing that has helped me because it gives me the sort of confidence to know that I can tackle difficult things as long as I stay with it. And jiu-jitsu is very, very difficult. It's very, very detailed. It's very technical. And, just one little adjustment, just turning your hand this way versus this way can make all the difference in the world. It's so detailed in that way. So yeah, I mean, those are other sort of benefits that translate in my everyday life, not being beholden to just doing things in one certain way, being open to, okay, well, maybe I just need to make a slight adjustment here or a slight adjustment there to make it work.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So I'm just curious, can you practice BJJ on your own, or is it something that you can only do with partners?
That's probably the biggest downfall of jiu-jitsu is that you do need someone.
Yeah.
I mean, are there exercises and drills that you could run, while you're away? Yes. But could you actually go through the whole journey without it? No, absolutely not. Unfortunately.
Do you have forms like karate, kung fu? We have forms. There's
No.
no form you can practice on your own. So it's basically all like partner exercise where you.
But there are certain like movements that you can sort of mimic. They also have training dummies that you can use to sort of, because a lot of times what you're doing is, what usually helps people is if they're able to sort of drill the same movements over and over and over again. Sometimes you'll see people even with their training partner or with a training dummy, they'll be just doing the same movement over and over and over again. So that it becomes second nature. So when they are in an actual competition or they're actually rolling with someone, it's automatic. Boom, 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 boom.
Did you ever come in a situation where you had to actually defend yourself on a street fight?
With jujitsu, I have not,
Mm.
thankfully. But it's funny. I just saw a video. I was watching the news 2 days ago, and they were talking about an unruly passenger on an airplane flight, and he was trying to get access to the main door or whatever. Blah 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 blah. And in the news story, they were saying that the some of the passengers on the plane had subdued the guy. And when I when I saw the video, the guy had jujitsu written across his t-shirt, and I knew immediately how that story was going to end. I knew immediately what was going to happen. I was like, okay, everything's going to be fine.
Mhm.
And the beautiful thing about those, about jujitsu compared to like some other martial arts, like a Muay Thai, for instance, it's gentle. You can actually subdue people without really seriously injuring them. And that's one of the other components about jujitsu that I love. You just, whereas some of these other arts, you have to actually strike and you want to hurt them and you want to knock the guy out or whatever the case may be. Jiu-jitsu is not like that. You can really just sort of subdue someone. Even if you incapacitate someone by choking them with a blood choke and they pass out, they'll be fine. You'll let it go and they will come back around. Trust me, I've been in situations where I was going out, in training. It's gentle. It's very, very gentle. In fact, it's a bit euphoric to be fair. So, it's one of the things I really love about the art. It's very gentle. And I knew once this guy was going to be subdued, I knew it was going to be fine.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have 30 years of experience in martial arts as well. And one of the fascinating things I have realized is that many of us, like teenagers, like me, and many of my friends, we joined martial arts because we have been bullied and we wanted to kind of defend ourselves. We wanted to be strong and we wanted to stop the freaking bully. And I mean, it went on until adulthood. I mean, some of my friends, they have been like, yeah, attacked, bullied. And after joining the martial arts culture for a few years and practicing martial arts, um, somehow these bullies just stayed away from us, you know. So it didn't actually happen anymore. We did not have to engage. We didn't have to like fight them, protect ourselves, because my perception of this is that we develop a different energy around us, and people just stay the f off of us because they just feel like this is not a good idea, you know, to start like effing around with this guy. So and this is what one of the fascinating aspects of martial arts to me is that it kind of produces this peace where we actually do not have to engage in violence with people. So yeah, and apparently for you it's a similar experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree 100% because and that's the other thing, what we were talking about before about, my personally thinking. I think that everyone should do jujitsu. That's my personal opinion.
There you go.
But because after you wake up in the morning, it's 7:30 in the morning, and people are trying to choke the life out of you, and you're drenched in sweat, and you've been fighting for your life for the last 2 hours. The last thing you want to do is get into a street altercation. Even if someone says something untowards to you, you're just like this. Oh, okay. I have no problem. Like, oh, I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. I might even try to be cheeky. Oh, I'm sorry, tough guy. You got it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry because I don't have time for all that. I have that outlet. But see, a lot of time that sort of bullying energy comes from people who they have all this angst inside of them, and they need a place to sort of direct it. And again, that's part of the reason why I think everyone should do jiu-jitsu or some sort of martial arts, because you have an opportunity to sort of get that energy out,
Yeah, I would phrase it slightly broader. I would say maybe martial arts. Everybody should do martial arts. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I'm a big kung fu lover, and to me, Kung Fu has also this beauty of having all these forms which you can learn and then you can practice them on your own. So this is one of the things that I really appreciate and what I could bring along on my journey around the world, where I had to leave the school that I was with my Sifu, but I could still bring along all these forms, which to me is a big gift to have them, to be able just to practice whenever, wherever. But yeah, I agree. I think we all should. Number one, I think without a doubt, humans need to do something with their body, right? I mean, we cannot just sit on our butts the whole day. We have to be active to be basically healthy. Then the question is, what is it that we do? So yeah, we can run, we can do yoga, I mean, there are many aspects. We can do weightlifting, we can do martial arts. And for me personally, martial arts was definitely the most meaningful way to engage physically with my body, because it has so many aspects to it. There's also spiritual aspect. It's about energy. It's about posture. It has many aspects which are to me have more meaning than just lifting weights. No offense to the gym guys, but to me, it is one way to give this physical meaning to our lives, and I guess we have this one in common.
Yeah. Listen, I got a boost of confidence, especially when I moved from, like, I really got a boost of confidence in terms of being able to really defend myself when I went to Western boxing. Western boxing gave me a certain level of, in terms of boosting my confidence. And then again with Muay Thai. But the thing about it was that I was always hyper aware of the fact that, if I came across a bigger guy, okay, can I strike with him? Can I defend myself if I needed to? Maybe, probably. Whereas with jujitsu, it is one of those, because every martial art says, oh yeah, when you know this, a smaller guy can beat a bigger guy. Jiu-jitsu is something where you constantly see every single day smaller people beating bigger guys every single day. So I just think that in terms of overall self-defense, jiu-jitsu is at the top of the list in terms, because I don't feel intimidated by anyone now. Anyone. Whereas even when I was doing, martial arts and, the taekwondo and boxing, and I always knew that there was a slight chance that maybe that person, whereas now I don't feel that way at all. And I see, like I said, listen, some of my training partners are females who are beating me up every single day, like completely destroying me. And it's all because their technique. I actually saw a smaller girl who was a purple belt, beat a brown belt guy. She put him to sleep. She choked him out and put him to sleep in a competition once. And I was like, wow. And that just goes to show you how dynamic this sport is. Because as a female, I have a young daughter. My daughter just turned 4. As a female, I just think that jiu-jitsu is probably one of the best sort of martial arts that you can take, because in most situations, it's, you're going to end up on the ground anyway. And if you're a female, you're probably going to end up with a guy on top of you on the ground. And guess what? In jiu-jitsu, you've just entered her world, and your world is about to change in a very negative way, and you're about to find out. You know what I mean? So
yeah, of course. There's a reason why all this ultimate fighting competitions, I think the BJJ guys are always like dominating these ultimate fighting competitions, because 90% of these fights end up on the floor. And to be honest, Kung Fu is not made for that. So we don't do things on the floor, but you guys, you only start doing stuff when you are on the ground. So yes, and people tend to fall over and end up on the floor. So that's where BJJ obviously has the upper hand. Yeah, definitely. Cool. Yeah, man. I learned a lot about BJJ today and Mr. Guy as well. Was fascinating. Well, I don't know. I hope, I mean, we are a few 100 kilometers apart. I hope we can do something together in this area someday. If you come to KL, definitely let me know. Same when I come to Bangkok. And yeah, so for whoever's watching until now, I would say thank you very much for staying with us. And if you have any questions about, life savings, investments, or martial arts, feel free to get in touch. And yeah, for now, I say thank you very much, Guy. And let's see what we do in the future.
Yes, thank you very much. And listen, anytime I talk about finances, one of the things I've done is one of the things I've adopted is talking about wellness and the importance of all these other things in addition to your wealth. I mean, I think wealth and wellness go hand in hand together. I mean, it's the same basic concepts. It's discipline. It's staying committed, and not giving up. And even when you don't see what you listen, I wanted to give up in jujitsu just last week. I'm not even joking. I was in the
Oh,
shower and I was just like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And I had to remind myself that, listen, this is all a part of the journey, and sometimes you get to these plateaus. So, and the same thing happens in investing as well. It's the same sort of thing. You want to be disciplined. You want to be showing up. You want to be consistent. You want to form good habits. All this stuff is related. So I often talk about these things. I often merge the two, even when I'm having a discussion about financial planning. So yeah, I'd be happy to have a conversation with anyone on either or both of those topics.
all right. Thank you so much, man.
Cool. Thank you for having me, Don. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right.